Hi everyone, welcome to part 3 video on Ionic&Vue JWT authentication. In previous two videos, we have implemented steps like user authentication using JWT access token. Okay, and also we have implemented routing guards to protect the pages against the users based on their authentication roles. So now in this video, we are going to implement two kind of scenarios, like one is like adding our access token as a authorization header for the secured endpoints to consume secured endpoints. Another thing is on on expiration of access token, we need to refresh the tokens by calling the refresh token endpoint. Okay, those two things will be mainly concentrated on this video episode. Okay, let's jump into creating our application. So here I'm using same old application that we are created for part 1 and part 2. Now my main goal is in dashboard view. I want to show consume some secured endpoint like to-dos endpoint where I am going to show the to-dos here. Okay. Before going any further, I want to mention that this entire session like refresh token implementation has been made as blog. If you like to go through the blog, you can click it on the link available in the description under the video. Okay, enter this video session has been made and everything is furnished into this blog. If you want, you can check this as well. Okay, so I want to show some documentation from my blog. Like now I have mentioned, right, I want to consume like secured endpoints. So my secured endpoint will be this to-dos endpoint, which is existed in my JWT Nest.js server. Okay. So now I want to consume this endpoint into my uh, Ion&Vue sample application. Okay. For that, what I will do, I am going to create a new store module to maintain as a separate state. For that, let's go to my store module folder. Under the modules folder, create a new folder like todo.js. Okay. As we know the syntax and implementation of the store, let's quickly implement the skeleton for our new store. Here I am going to store the to-dos, which is of array of strings. Okay. Here I am going to have a getter that will return all to-dos. Okay. For getters, we know that always first parameter will be the state, which will be automatically passed by the Vuex framework. So let's return this state dot to-dos. This is my getter. Okay. Next, action method. We know that actions are meant to do a synchronous job. So our secure endpoint invocation will be happened here. So for that, what I will do, I will create a asynchronous method which all to do's. So to consume the REST APIs, we know that we need to import Axios, import Axios from Axios. Okay, okay, and constant response await. Okay, Axios dot get. Let's copy my endpoint from my blog. So copy it and make sure to your Nest.js API is rendering like this. Okay, I have already started my Nest.js endpoint. Okay, make sure to running it. Let's paste here. So here I am not checking any exceptions or anything. If you want, you can handle them. Here I am simply expecting the call will be success. So what I will do, I need to pass the response to the mutation so that mutation can update the state. Const mutations equal to save all to-dos is my mutation method. We know the first parameter is state, second is payload. Okay, let's update the state dot to-dos equal to payload. Okay, and here our action method, first method will be the object. Inside it contains commit command. So I will use commit command to trigger the mutations. So for commit command, first parameter will be the mutation method name. Second parameter will be the payload response data. Okay, so that's it, and we need to export these things. Export default. I want to use namespace as a mandatory while using my store. Okay, and state it only. It is not store, it is state. Sorry. Okay, and then my getters, actions, mutations. Okay, and finally, this is the skeleton of our, not skeleton, entire logic for my consuming the to-dos API in my to-dos store module. So let's register this in the root module. For that, go to index.js in the store folder. Here, let's import our to-dos module, like to-dos module from modules and to-do. Okay, so here I will register with property to-do. This to-do property name will be used as a namespace for consuming my to-dos. Okay, so let's go to our dashboard page. Okay, in this page I want to display the what I can say my to-dos. For that, what I will do, I will add another Ionic card component. Let me copy this. Okay, paste it over here. I will write like your to-dos. Okay, I want to add a button. So based on clicking that button, I want to display the to-dos. Means I want to invoke the to-dos. So for that, let's copy the button from here. Okay, and go to dashboard. On title, just add the button. Say like show to-dos and change the callback method name like show to-dos. Okay, and next thing I want to do is don't need two labels. Okay, so first let's fetch the getter method to return all to-dos into my dashboard component. For that, what we can do, we can register one more map getter. Okay, with the namespace to do. Okay, here return and go to our to-dos module. Okay, copy the name. Okay, and register here. So I will rename this property like all to-dos. Now what I will do, this will contain the array of to-dos, right? I'm going to loop it. So for that, here I will write like v for, okay, to do in all to-dos. Okay, here what I will do, since it is a list of array of string, it won't have any primary key like ID. So what I will do, I will also invoke the index and I will bind it to the key. Okay, and inside of the label, I can directly assign to-dos to display. Okay, and now we need to write our callback method show to-dos. That's going to invoke the our action method that calls API, secured endpoint API. So let's register methods method. Inside of it, we'll call to-dos. Okay. So to invoke the to-dos, we need to invoke the action method. So go to our to-dos and copy the action method name. So let's also import the map actions. Map actions, okay. So let's register our map actions in methods. Table dot map actions, okay, and its namespace should be to do, and okay, fetch all to do. I'm going to use same name as property as well. Okay, what I will do, this dot fetch all to do. Since it is a synchronous method, right? I need to await, and I will add async here. Okay, I think that's enough. Let's save them and go to our application. Okay, see, now we are able to see the to-dos button inside of our dashboard. Okay, now if you click it in network calls, you can observe. See, our to-dos endpoint is invoked, but it is returning responses unauthorized because till now we haven't added our access token as an authorization value, header value to it. So because it is a secured endpoint, it must need the authenticated key for a client to consume it. So for that, we need to add the uh, our access token while the request is invoked. So to do that, we will write a interceptor so that whichever action methods are the end, whichever method uses that interceptor method, it will automatically add the authorization header by default. So for that, we will use the Axios interceptor. So let's create a Axios interceptor. For that, I am going to shared folder. Let's create JWT Interceptor. Okay, it should be JS. Okay, now import Axios from Axios. Okay, what we will do here, we will create an instance of the Axios like Axios JWT Interceptor equal to Axios dot create. This will create an instance of the Axios. Now this JWT interceptor is also become an Axios because the memory was created from the Axios. Okay, let's do some configuration for this JWT interceptor dot interceptor dot request dot use. Okay, config. Okay, here we are going to register, write our implementation logic for adding authorization authorization header with the access token as its value for whichever request that is invoked using this JWT interceptor. So to get the access token, what we have to do, we need to get it from the store. So let's import the store here. Import store from store index. Okay. Now what we will do, constant auth data equal to, okay, what we will do, we will call store dot getters. Okay, First, I need to specify the namespace. It is auth state store, so auth I am using, and I am going to get the user information from there. For that, I need a getter method, that is get auth data. So go here. Okay, this will give the auth data. So now what we will do, if auth data not exist, we don't do nothing, we simply return config. Okay, for suppose, so if auth data exists, then we will have access token, right? So what we will do, we will add it as a authorization header value. What we will do, config dot headers dot common and header name, authorization, and the value. So value, for since it is a barrier token, first we need to specify the barrier string. Okay, is dynamic value like auth data dot access token. So let's cross check the property name. Sorry, only token. Okay, let's change it to token. And finally return the config. So what it will do, whichever method uses this JWT interceptor to invoke any endpoint call, it will automatically add this authorization header to that endpoint automatically. So we need to export this uh, interceptor, JWT interceptor. Okay, so let's nicely format it. Now what we will do, I am going to change the Axios call in the to-do store state. So for that, I can get rid of this Axios, and now I can use that JWT interceptor. Okay, from one store shared and JWT interceptor. Here it is exporting what it will exporting JWT interceptor. It is exporting, right? So here what we will do, just replace this with JWT interceptor. It should work, I think. So that's all. Let's test our application. Here we have interceptor, sum is undefined but never used. Okay. Go to interceptor. This remove this unused reference and save it again. So let's do by clearing the existing what I can say user information. I want to relog in and test the to-dos endpoint. Okay, the credentials I have mentioned that we need to use these only, which I clearly mentioned in the video 1 and 2 and as well as in my blog. So let's log in. Okay, so here again added new information, user information, go to networks, login is successful. So let's clear this and now hit on the show to dos. See, here we are getting to dos displayed, and if you check the network call, see network call is successful and I'm getting the response. And if you go for a request header, see our authorization has been sent to the request by adding our access token as a value for this authorization header. Okay, so that's it. The main target, our first target has been finished, to consume the secure endpoint by adding our access token as the authorization header. Now we need to concentrate on invoking the refresh token when our access token is expired. So for that, what I will do, I will implement a logic in our interceptor in such a way that if we receive unauthorized response from our endpoint, secured endpoint, then we will invoke our refresh token endpoint. And once when we got the response from the refresh token endpoint, we are going to update all our storage as well as UX state management with the new refresh token and access token. For that, we need to write logic. So first thing what I will do in my auth.js, I am going to create a one action method. The reason behind I am creating action method is here I want to use this action method to update the uh, storage values with the new refresh token and access token values, because this storage is a synchronous method, right? So that's the reason I am writing the code in actions. So let's write some action method like okay, this is my action method name, and obviously my first parameter is like my first parameter will be like commit itself. Okay, and next value will be the response from my REST API. Okay, let's say payload. Now what I want to do, I want to save the values. For setting values, we have already some code. So what I will do, I will take this. Okay, and I will reuse that code. Okay, here we need to write like payload. Here I am updating new access token and refresh token to my storage. Storage we have already discussed, right? It's depend upon our application where it is running. If it is opened as a mobile app, then the based on mobile app operating system, default storage will be used. If you opening our application as a web application, then it will use the browser local storage to store the token data. Okay, once storing, we also need to update our store, right? For that, we need to simply use existing mutation method. Okay, and we can call the mutation method. So here I can say payload. Okay, so till now what we did, once we got the response from the refresh token data, so we are handling that response in our action method. So let's now write our logic to invoke the refresh token. So for that, we will go to our JWT interceptor. Here we have appending our what you can say authorization header in request, right? Interceptor dot request. Now for refresh token, we need to check for the response. Okay, JWT interceptor interceptors dot response dot use. Okay, here is like first method is like response. Okay, and if everything okay, we nothing we will do with the response. We will simply return the response. Okay, and here we will have main our logic is in the error we need to handle. Inside of the error, okay, our logic should be there. Okay, here what we have to do means first we need to check error like error response dot error dot response dot status. Okay, if you have any doubt regarding any property regarding this error, just do a console as a first line. Okay, so you can see all the data that response contains, so you can play with that. So here I am checking the status code. If it is 401, that means if I am getting unauthorized as a response, then what I will do, I need to invoke my refresh token endpoint, right? Okay, here I need to write a logic for the refresh token endpoint. So if you go to my documentation, I have already furnished some documentation regarding the refresh token integration. So my refresh token integration URL should be like this. Okay, auth/refresh token, and payload should be like this. Okay, so first thing is I need to prepare payload, and one more thing, these properties should be like this only, because these are server-side properties. We cannot manipulate or change them. Those are case sensitive as well. So let's go to here, and we need to get our for this refresh token, what you are sending access token or refresh token means these are existing values. We have already expired access token and refresh token, right? Those values need to be sent as payload to the server. For that, what I will do, I will use the logic like this. Okay, so here also I am able to access the auth data. So once I get auth data, what I will do, I am going to prepare my payload. Payload is like, okay, I have mentioned, right, the properties are case sensitive. In any API, that is a common. And here what I will do, auth data dot token. Okay, and another property is like refresh token. And let's go here and paste here, and auth data dot. Let's check our in auth.js. What's the property name? Token is fine, and refresh token value is this one. Okay. So what we have did, we have created our payload for our refresh token endpoint. Now what I will do, I'm going to call that refresh token endpoint. What I will do, Axios get post. I will use here Axios and just copy the URL from here. Okay, and payload. Since it is a asynchronous method, right? So for that, what we will do, we will make this as async, and now we can await here this one. Await it. Now capture the response data. Constant dot response. Okay. So now what I will do, once I will get the response data, I am going to update my store. For that, what I will do, store dot dispatch. Okay. First should be namespace like auth name, and our newly created action method. What is that? Save to storage. Save token to storage. Okay. Let's go our interceptor. Paste it here, and here pass our payload response.data. Okay. Now this dispatch store, what it will do, it trigger the our action method we have created just before this, and there what is happening, it is updating the new access token and refresh token into our storage, and as well as it will update the our application state. Next, what I will do, so when this error happening, when we try to access our secured endpoint, since it is access token is expired, then it is throwing like 401 and we are consuming, right? So inside it, what we did, we are restoring our access token. After restoring access token, what we have to do, we need to re-invoke this execution again. Means we need to call this secured endpoint again, right? Because that should fulfill our requirement. The main requirement is we need to get the successful data from the secured endpoint, that is to-dos. Okay, so we need to invoke that call again inside of it once we got the refresh token data. For that, what I will do, similarly, so error dot config dot headers, and here bit different. We cannot use common array directly. We can set it headers. Okay, and here we need to pass our barrier token. So similarly, what we will do, just copy, and we should not use auth data here. Token we should use response dot the new token. Okay, data dot access token, I believe. Okay, once that is done, what we will do, we will return Axios dot error dot config. Here it will invoke new request with my secured endpoint configuration. Okay, so now, so if we observe this entire code, what happening? First, we will trigger our secure endpoint to do's. Okay, it will check here and it will add the expired access token and it will send to the server. After going to server identifies it is the expired token, so it will reject the request. So once the request is rejected, what we are doing in the interceptor response, we are capturing the error. On capturing error, what we are doing, if you are checking that the error is 401, because for another errors we should not do this. 401 means status code, it is unauthorized. Then what we are doing, we are preparing a payload and we are invoking the refresh token endpoint. Once we got the response from the refresh token endpoint, what we are doing, using the store dispatch method, we are updating our local storage as well as the VF state management. Later, for from the error, we will get the configuration of our main request, that is secured endpoint request. For that, we are again adding our new authorization header with the new access token and using Axios and passing those configuration. We are again retriggering that request. Okay, so let's save it and check in our application how it works. So the issue is here we are using await, right? Our action method should be async. Okay, I think now it should fix. Yes, now it got fixed. And let's try here by clicking the show to dos. See here, first it is invoking to dos. Okay, it is getting 401. What we did in if we get 401 means unauthorized. In the unauthorized case, we are invoking the refresh token. See, here next is invoking refresh token. See, I am getting new refresh token and the access token. So if you go here and go down here, the payload, we are sending old refresh token and access token as payload to this endpoint. So once we get the refresh token access successful, what we are doing, we are again invoking the secured endpoint by adding the new access token as a header. So if you go here to do, here it is successful, and if you go to the request, the request header, it is adding authorization. So this is the way we are going to add the authorization header into our to-do endpoint once the access token is expired. So next time when you click, see, this is because I have enabled only 30 seconds. That is why immediately it is expired. So if I click again, you can see only to-do's call. See, to-do's call, to-do's call, to-do's call, to-do's call. Until it expired, it won't call the refresh token. So see here, to-do's and to-do's. Okay, it is 30 seconds only. I think now we can get again refresh token call. No, it is still alive. See, so this is how refresh token works. So what we did, when our access token is expired, we are in the response we are handling in such a way that we are invoking refresh token and updating the new access token into our application. Once we updated our access token, we are again resuming our original call with the new access token as the authorization header. So that's it, guys. That's all about the steps to integrating the uh, refresh token endpoint into our Ionic&Vue application. So in this video, what we have discussed how to consume the secured endpoint by adding the authorization header as its key. And also we have learned about the refresh token steps to implementation using our Axios Interceptor. So I hope this video has delivered some useful information. If you like my video, please do subscribe to my channel. Soon I will meet you again with new video. Until then, signing off.